Hello, hello. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Leanne. I am the face behind Small Gestures Vintage and Crafts. Have you ever traveled somewhere where you see like the road signs that go in all the different directions and you're not sure which way to go, or you go down one way and there's a roadblock, so you have to reconfigure and choose another path? That was my week this week. And normally it's no big deal, right? Everyone has situations where there's a roadblock and you have to course correct and you have to do something different, right? It was just so comical because that was every project this week. In fact, one of my projects went so far south, it did not even make it into the video this week. So if you want a little bit of a chuckle, if you want to sit there and shake your head and be like, girl, why are you doing this to yourself? Because I may or may not have said that to myself a little bit this week, then stick around with me. And in the end, I will show you how this inspiration allowed me to take the easiest flip and make it the most challenging. So stick around with me and let's do it. My first project is this black and white enamel basin that I picked up. I love enamel, and when I can get it for 60% off, that's even better. It was in pretty sad shape. This was the bottom of it and the inside. Barkeeper's Friend did a great job on the bottom. I could not get the inside scrubbed clean, and I knew I wanted to do just a simple black and white design on it, transfer, so I painted. I didn't want to paint up the burnt area, that darkened area, with a paintbrush and paint. I was afraid it would be too thick and I would have brush marks, so I decided to improvise my own little paint tent here and tape it down, and I thought I would just give it some coats of white Rust-Oleum spray paint. It took about 3 light coats of spray paint, and I sanded it in between to keep it smooth, brought it inside, and when I took it out of the plastic, you could really see just how bright white the spray paint was compared to the enamel. And of course, where I had the tape, I now had ridges. So I had to smooth that out. Now I did want to do just a simple black and white, and this is the lovely Ledger transfer by Redesign. And side note, if you have transfers that are rolled up, it's a good idea to tape the edges so they stay together, because the transfer, the carrier sheet that the transfer is on, is sticky, and if it sticks to something, then you can lose part of your design. Because the transfer really is just the black outline, I was really concerned that you would see the super white in the middle. So I had some paint, I pulled out some paint, and I thought, well, maybe I can blend it in with the enamel. And these are Dixie Belle paints. The white is Saltwater, I think, and then Endless Shore is the darker one. As you can see, one's way too bright. It's the same color of the spray paint. One is way too dark, so I blended them and came up with a color that blended more in with the enamel. In hindsight, would you have been able to tell that the middle was super white? Probably not, but I was in the zone and I had a vision, and I didn't want to just cover it with a floral transfer. I really wanted to keep it simple, just black and white, and I just didn't want the middle to stand out and look like it had been painted. So I did what I did, and in the end, I think it was a pretty good match. You can tell, of course, the difference between the gloss and the flat, but I think it worked out pretty good. So I'm cutting out the transfer, and these transfers pieced together. I've got this big flower design. So you can see I'm just trying to cut them out and then lay them out where I want them to go inside the bowl. So there's just a little bit wrapping up on the edge all around the design, so it looks, you know, more centered. When I decide where I want my transfer positioned, I tape down the top half, or whichever half I was going to work on first, tape it down so it doesn't move, and get started transferring. When the first half was done, I lined up the second part as best I could. There were little ridges in the bottom of the pan, so it didn't come out perfectly even, but I did the best I could. And then you'll see me make all sorts of little cuts where it rolls up onto the side, kind of like when you're cutting fabric to go around a seam or a curve, just so it fits up in the groove a little better and a little smoother. This transfer did take a good bit of time because of all the line work. I wanted to make sure that I got that down good and tight onto the surface. And then after it's released from the top carrier sheet, you just take it and burnish it in really well. So you really just press it against the surface, and there we go. I think I'm pretty happy with it. That's why I was so determined to make it all look cohesive. I love risers. So for my second project, that's what we're going to do. A while back, I thrifted or got off Marketplace a bunch of wood items, all of these little feet, and it was from a furniture maker, and they also had these little tabletops. So I wanted to make a riser out of it. I had started initially, and I had already sanded the piece, the wood top, but I had some swirl marks, so I didn't end up using it. It just kind of sat. So I decided to tackle it again, and stained 4 of these little feet. I think this is a water-based stain from Home Depot, ebony, I think. And they actually came out kind of splotchy. I didn't like how it looked, so I went over them with some dark wax, and I thought I had recorded when I stained the little tabletop, the riser top, but I didn't. But you can see that it's stained right there in the corner. But I went over with a dark wax on the feet and then wiped them off. And then I don't like just gluing feet onto risers. I like using these double-ended wood screws. So it's great because half screws into the wood piece, and then the other half will screw right into the little top of the riser, so it's much more secure than just having it glued on. I'm checking here to make sure that the depth of the screw, when I screw these legs in, it's not going to come through the top of the riser. So it looks like it's all good, so I just need to attach them to the other 3 feet. And I was going to do milk paint, which is a powder paint. You mix it with water, equal parts water and powder. It gives you a chippy crackle look, and I really wanted more chippy than crackle, so I used more powder than I typically do, and it was very thick, and I just wasn't feeling it, I guess. As I was putting it on, it wasn't really what I wanted to go with, but I was this far in, so I needed to at least finish this side. And then I thought, well, I have all that leftover paint that I color mixed for the enamel basin, so I may as well use that. So I ended up putting that over the one coat of milk paint. So I kind of shifted mid-project. This is an all-in-one paint, which means it's got the primer and the paint and a top coat. And fun fact, once you paint with an all-in-one, if you take a heat gun to it, it will bubble and crack similar to a milk paint. It gives you a different look. You've got a lot of bubbling on it that will flake off, but it also gives you a very unique distressed look too. And I thought about doing that, but then I thought I would just stick with my regular basic distressing and not get too heavy-handed with it. So I've got 2 coats of paint on here, both top and bottom. And I had already marked, like I said, when I was going to use it previously, I'd already marked where the holes were, but I just wanted to double check. So I gave a quick measure, and then all I had to do was just screw the little legs in, drill the holes, sorry, and then screw the legs in. So the legs are attached. It's been distressed, but it's just a little too blah for me. So I shifted again and pulled out Whispering Willow. They have a floral in there I've been saving and I've been wanting to use. And so I thought this would be the perfect time to use it. It's still, I think it's pretty. It goes pretty for fall, beautiful in spring and summer. And like I said, I've just been holding off using it for some reason, and I guess it was just waiting for the right project. So Whispering Willow to the rescue. And then this text transfer, this is from Brocante, and it's in a really soft kind of blue-gray. So I thought it blended nicely with the colors in the floral. I'm just rubbing that transfer down, and then when it releases successfully, going over it with that carrier sheet and burnishing it in, and moving on to step 2, that beautiful floral transfer. So Sonnet from Sonnet's Garden Blooms has a membership group that I am in with several other, many other creators, and a lot of them carry different products that I use. The IOD, Redesign, by Prima, Dixie Belle, Sweet Pickins Milk Paint. So when I use some of the products, I will put links, so you'll see different links in my videos for some of these creators if you want to get some of the products that I use in my videos. Now I'm going in with 2 coats of Big Top, which is a nice top coat. It just, this is by DIY, and it gives it just a nice satin finish. The paint doesn't need to be top coated because it is an all-in-one, but you do need to top coat the transfer to protect it. So I've got 2 coats, and then she's done. I also just wanted to take a minute and say thank you. This is my 4th video, and the amount of comments and feedback that I have had from people on my first 3 videos, I am just blown away. Your kind words and your support truly, truly warm my heart. So thank you so very much. So my third and final project this week are these metal wall pockets, sconces, whatever you want to call them. They're a pretty shade of green, but I wanted something different. I don't like green so much when you put greenery inside of it because there's so many different colors and different tones. So I wanted to do something different that maybe would be a little more universal or a little more versatile. So I pulled out the antique gold spray paint. This is probably the easiest transformation, but it's the one that sent me in so many different directions because of what I chose to add to it. It's really comical at this point. But I took it outside, and these two got some good coats of spray paint inside and out to change them from a green that had brown and light green and was just not my style, I guess, to something a little more, I don't know, elegant? Can you say they're elegant? I'm not sure. But this was my inspiration. Jenny's Wreath Boutique last year did a video, and that was the wreath you saw in the opening. So when I decided to go gold, that wreath, which is hanging right behind me, really spoke to me, and I decided to grab some of the florals that the same colors that are in there because I thought that would be really nice for fall with that gold. So this is the easy transformation. That was the easy transformation. This is the part that sent me in all different directions. Y'all, it was crazy. So when I decided to add the floral, I couldn't keep the stems as is. I had to hide them. They would stick through and they're just not that attractive looking, let's face it. So I had this burlap ribbon. I was going to use this wide ribbon. I got it at Hobby Lobby that I was going to use to cover it. But I wanted it like cinched at the bottom somehow. I didn't like how it was looking. So I pulled out some twine and actually cut my ribbon and did like a running stitch along the bottom to gather it all together because I thought that's what I wanted. You can see it looks like a little handkerchief right there, all, you know, bunched together and gathered together at the bottom. So I thought I would try that, and I didn't like it. So then I thought I would pull out my burlap ribbon, and I thought if I wrap the stems with a ribbon, then that will help keep everything together. It won't poke through, and it will look neater and finish it off. That was going to be my brilliant solution. Except in the end, I didn't like that one either. Then I remembered I had some of this wide burlap that I had picked up at Walmart. This would be perfect. It would be big enough to wrap the stems, and this was going to work perfect. I had cut it, and it was a super wide weave, so the burlap would become unraveled very easily. So I decided to hot glue the edge so that it would prevent any of that from happening. So we're making progress, except it's too much up at the top. It's too poofy. It's too floofy. And then I decided that I didn't like this strip that I hot glued. So I ended up cutting that off and thought, if it's gonna ravel, it's gonna ravel. That's what burlap does. So I started playing with it, and as I pulled some of the thickness down, I liked it a little better. It wasn't so heavy up at the top. So then I pull out my needle and I decided to sew the twine, or with twine, sew the burlap in amongst the stems. So it would pull some of that fullness down so it wouldn't be so full and overwhelm the flowers at the top, if that makes sense. You can kind of see where I've pulled some of the thickness down a little lower on the stems. So that was my solution. Until I put it in the wall pocket and I didn't like how it looked. I think because there was so much burlap, it blended in, and I just didn't like it. So I called it quits for the night, and came in the next day, and I started with the ribbon idea again. And then I took this heavier rope that I just picked up at Dollar Tree. It's really thick. And it's 4 strands. So I split the strands and glued them onto the back because I was gonna wrap the stem, and I didn't wanna have like a big lump in the back. I wanted it to be more smoothed out. So that's what I'm doing right now. And round we go with the twine and hot glue. So when I put the floral into the little pockets, it just would have fallen straight down. So I took some twine and wrapped it around the front of the stem and fed it through the back, and then just tied it in a good double knot just to keep the arrangement center and secure inside of the little wall pocket. After all that, we have success. Thank you again for joining me this week. If you like this content and you know someone else that would as well, feel free to share. I would appreciate it if you like and subscribe. Drop me a comment. It really helps. It helps me out with my new channel. And I hope you'll join me again next week.